Welcome to the Business Power Hour with Darren and the Music Man. Brought to you by Friend Entertainment USA, producing the best concerts for charities and corporations for over 30 years. And CBMS Consulting Services, control your business before it controls you. In association with Area 22 Productions, your multimedia streaming network. Now, here is Darren and the Music Man.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode number 14 of the Business Power Hour with my friend Darren and myself, the Music Man. So good evening, world. Nice to say hello to everybody. And how are you, Darren?
I'm doing fine, Norman. Good evening, everybody. We've got a lot going on.
Well, I'm sorry that
this is a fun night. Yeah, this is a fun night, though, guys.
There's a lot of stuff going on here tonight, and we even got a new tree.
We do. We got a new tree.
Nice tree there.
Well,
they just took it out of another room and they brought it to us.
They did that for me. I was lonely over here because I'm always on the end. So, it says lonely. So they brought the tree over there to keep me company.
All right. I like to be cuddled by everybody. And we got some really, really great guests tonight. Tonight is our first of a series of charity shows. And what we're doing is we're inviting charities to come on the last week of the month on Wednesdays. And we're having 2 charities at a time. And the sign up above, Camp Good Mourning, will be our next guest, and our really very well-known organization and guest we're going to introduce to you right now is my friend Brian Crohn, who has brought along Suzanne, what's your last name, Suzanne? Suzanne Beck. And Suzanne Beck is the director of the walk events and fundraising, or I guess that's the right word? Is that fundraising, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Yes.
See, we figured that out. Take a look at this sign, everybody, and take a look what Suzanne is doing and what the Crohn's Colitis Foundation is starting to be about. All right. Everybody took a look at that. Okay, Suzanne, say hello to everybody in the outside world.
Well, hello, world. Welcome, and thank you for having us on the show tonight. We're
Brian?
excited to be here.
It's an absolute pleasure to be here. Always a pleasure seeing the two of you and hanging out with Suzanne, who's an inspiration to so many when it comes to the fundraising side, helping out with those that are afflicted with various diseases, and she's just a great person.
Well, actually, the two of you, we have to give rave reviews about, because what the two of you do, not just for you with Crohn's colitis, and what you do really for the world. You do a lot of stuff for a lot of people. And if we had enough time to talk about all the things that you personally do for charities all over, we're going to have you back by yourself. As soon as you get a couple of bucks together and the show. Right. Until then, you can go wherever you got to go.
I mean, really, tonight's show really is showcasing these people that dedicate their lives to helping other people. And as Norm just intimated about Brian is one of those people where you see him everywhere doing everything for everybody and getting nothing for it.
Because his wife kicks him out of the house.
I think that's what it is.
I mean,
that's a big part of it.
This is his life.
You know, but Suzanne has dedicated her life to the Crohn's and Colitis Foundation.
What's that, 17 years?
Oh, no, I've been there 7 years.
7 years.
7
I don't know,
years.
somebody made a typo then inside here.
Okay.
Or something.
I could wind up being here for 17 plus years as the years go on.
So for 7 years, that's a huge amount of time as well.
So for all those of us who don't know what Crohn's and colitis is, just if you could, just give us a small snapshot of it, and about what people go through, and the challenges
what your function
that they have, and what your function is.
Right. Okay. So Crohn's disease is an inflammatory, chronic condition that affects the intestinal tract, and it can affect people from their mouth down to their anus as far as pain and hold them back. And then colitis is also a chronic inflammatory condition, but that's limited to the colon itself. So these are both intestinal diseases. They're collectively known as IBD. They affect 1.6 million Americans nationwide, and there's an estimated 60,000 that live here on Long Island.
Wow.
So my function is to be out in the community, raise awareness of not only the diseases, but that the foundation itself exists. There's a chapter here on Long Island in Garden City, and we offer patient services throughout the year. So
what type of services do you offer?
So we offer education events where we bring doctors in and they speak about the latest research going on. They talk to you about the diseases themselves. We have support groups that meet monthly. one of which Brian hosts.
Do you
out
offer
in-
care, actual medical care there at all?
Those they have to see their doctors for.
Okay, but you do have referring doctors.
So
and
we have
such.
doctors that we work with, and what we do is if there's a new patient and they call the office, we do what we call an intake, and then we find out where they live on Long Island,
Okay,
and we
so
give them.
If somebody's inflicted with this, and I don't mean to cut you off.
That's okay.
But if somebody's inflicted with this disease and they wanted to get in touch with you, how would they get in touch with you?
So they can call us in Garden City
Look
at
right into the camera.
look right
You
into the
can tell.
camera at 516-222-5530. That's
Please
our
repeat
local
that
number.
again.
It's 516-222-5530. And someone would answer the phone and take down their information. And once we know where they live, we give them doctors within a radius of where they live that we know our patients are seeing.
Okay.
And then we advise them. It's up to them to make the decision
So
of who
it's
the best
doctors
doctor
that
is.
actually specialize in
It's
in
GI
treating that
doctors.
disease,
It would
right?
be GI doctors.
Okay.
And
Now,
then also,
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
and part of that. So if somebody were to call in, either they've been afflicted with the disease or one of the family members, or they're just calling on behalf of somebody else, they'll speak to the office, they'll get the medical direction, we'll say, with the referrals, but then they're also told about the support groups. And there are a number of support groups that are on Long Island. I happen to run the one that's over in the East Setauket area, that's for the adult support group. But we wind up with people attending that either have the disease, they're family members of it. And we even had one situation where the father came, didn't really speak to the daughter altogether too much, but he wanted to get a better understanding of what the disease is.
He wanted to educate himself.
So
why
do you have
why did you
separate-
do it?
My wife. This is my why on a whole bunch of different things, but my wife. My wife was diagnosed with colitis as a teenager, so she's been suffering with it for many years, well beyond the 7 and 17 years,
Right.
Right.
and going through. And it is a debilitating disease. It affects lives in a big way. It affects those that are dealing with the disease, and it also affects those that are part of the support
in what
group.
ways, I guess, without being graphic or whatever, but in what ways? Do you have to go to the hospital often? Do you have to make visits for any particular reason?
Yeah, I don't want to share my wife's story.
I'm not
She
talking
could
about your
share.
wife,
I know
right.
she
That's-
can share her own story. But for those that are going through a flare-up, where it becomes, where the intestine is inflamed on the inside. So anytime you eat anything, you're not holding anything inside your digestive system for too long. So if somebody has either Crohn's or colitis, either way, they can expect to go to the bathroom somewhere between 10, 30 times over the course of the day.
Wow.
It's very difficult to go and work in a regular environment for that.
And function.
Right, and if you speak to anybody that has this, including those that drive the car, they will tell you where every bathroom is. As wherever they're driving to, they know exactly where every bathroom is
Because they might
you gotta
need to
go, you gotta
stop.
go.
Unfortunately, they need to. Now, Brian, you said you run a support group.
Yeah.
Are these support groups just for people that are inflicted with the disease, or does it, who can come to the support groups?
So it depends on the group because we have parent support groups.
Okay.
We have a women's support group, which that's women patients.
Okay.
And we just started a men's support group for male
For men that are
patients.
dealing with it.
We're in the process of putting together a teen leadership council for
Okay.
teenagers. And then Brian's group is a mixed group. So it could be parents, it could be adults, it could be anybody who has a connection to a patient.
Okay.
Is this passed on?
This information is passed on.
No.
Gross.
The disease itself, is it inherited?
Is it hereditary?
It can be.
Probably. There's all kinds of research, which is really what a lot of the foundation's about. Portion of it has to do with giving real advice and working with people and letting them know that this is not the end of the world, that there are people that successfully are able to get treatment for it. So it's where they manage the disease. They're not getting cured, but they can manage the disease and move on with their lives. And I got some great stories
Right.
of what some people have done on that
So-
side. But the money is going to a lot of the research. To find the cure, they're still looking.
Okay, so
And it might be right there.
if I'm a person that doesn't have a lot of money, but I want to volunteer my time to help. I hear your
Absolutely.
story. I want to hear. How do I get in touch with you guys? And what type of help are you looking for?
So you
know,
would
a lot-
not be
a
going
lot
to
of
a
times-
patient support group.
No. So what I'm saying is there are a lot of times where people want to help, but they don't know how, and they don't know what you're looking for. So they go, So how could they find out how they can volunteer their services? I know you have certain events during the year that you may
Right.
need help at, and things like that. So, give me a little bit about what type of volunteer help that you need.
So we volunteers on all sorts of levels. So we have day of volunteers that volunteer at our events itself. We have volunteers that come in daily, weekly, monthly, and help us within our office, making phone calls, stuffing envelopes, putting together graphic designs for us, working on our social media for us. We have volunteers who sit on committees, such as planning committees or revenue committees, and they help us raise that awareness, like they're our branches out in the community. We have volunteers that will table for us, so we'll set them up with a mission box and send them and say, okay, you're going to be at Stony Brook University today, and your job today is to give information out, brochures and pamphlets about support groups and education events that are coming up. So there are various ways. What they would do is they would call the foundation, and they would
call
us
them at what number?
516-222-5530.
Now, do you have a website?
We do have a website. Our website is www.crohnscolitisfoundation.org.
That was easy, huh?
Yeah, that's a mouthful.
That's it. Crohn's Colitis Foundation.org.
But there's also plenty of ways for businesses to get involved here too, and other like.
I'm sure you accept
Okay,
donations.
Yeah, there's always the monetary donations, but on the fundraising side, so we have the walks. You know, there's one walk that takes place in the spring, and then there's 2 in the fall. So obviously we need a load of volunteers for that to happen. But throughout the year, there's a number of other fundraising events that take place. There's paint nights, there's restaurants that host different things. A lot of restaurants will donate 10 or 20% of whatever the receipts are for the day. So if you're a business looking to generate a little extra foot traffic, you want to donate a percentage back, to the
Could I
foundation.
donate tickets?
Sure.
Do you do raffles?
So you can absolutely
Yeah.
donate tickets.
So consider that done. That's done.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And we can use those. We use prizes for incentive levels. We use prizes for actual raffles and silent auctions. So it just depends. We get things all year long.
Okay.
We do a shining star at each of these walks. So there's one person that's really gone above and beyond to share this, and someone who has the disease, who has gone above and beyond to share their story with everybody and raise money. And it's amazing what some of these people do when it comes to raising money.
Right.
And they're getting out into the community. And it's anything at the paint nights. Bowling is a big thing to do. Fund clothing drives, which is a constant. There seems to be always doing a clothing drive. So if you're cleaning out your house, you want to help out, right? You have no money, but you're cleaning your house. You got old clothes. Donate the clothes. We then sell them to another organization that also pays it forward with the clothing, with who they donate the clothes to, and who they give the clothes to. It's a win for everybody. There's plenty of ways to help.
I'm doing an outdoor concert in just 2 weeks or so.
Okay.
If I can get permission to get you to set up a table.
So we would come and we would set up a mission
Is that enough
table.
time? Is that
Absolutely.
enough time to do that?
Absolutely.
All right, well, I'll find out tomorrow, then I'll give you a call.
Okay.
And I'll let you know.
So we do that. We're out in the community. We've been to concerts. We've been to ball games. We've been to, just at colleges and high schools. And what we're doing is we're recruiting for walk teams. We're recruiting for volunteers. We're recruiting for fundraisers.
Okay.
And it's
So
also
you're basically recruiting everywhere.
Right.
Everywhere you can, any place that you can get people on, you want to get people in. Now, going back to the businesses, because I'm just always focusing on businesses, right? But
it's a win for both sides.
But what I'm saying is that if you have a large business, a lot of times you'll go into a business and they're doing a food drive, or they're
Right.
doing like you mentioned, clothing drives and things like that. They can do that on behalf of you guys, right?
Absolutely, and we would walk them through that process. We would work with them, help them set it up. We'd be there the days that they're doing it. But businesses can have walk teams, and they can get employees involved, and they can register as a corporate team, and then come out on walk day.
So look, your walk is similar to, and I'm going to only equate it because I know about it, is the cancer walk, the big cancer walk they have at Jones
They're all
Beach
the
every
same.
year, right?
Or autism or any
They're
of
all the
these.
same
So people
model.
will sponsor, I'm just going to throw a number up. It's a 10-mile walk, and they sponsor, 25 cents a mile
No,
or
it
something
does
like
not
that.
work that way.
No,
So
it doesn't work.
I'm
We
a
have much
team-
shorter walks. They're like 3
shorter.
miles. You got to remember that bathroom
the
thing.
bathrooms around.
What I'm saying is,
Porta potties along the way?
Yeah.
anybody,
I mean,
anybody
it's a
can
serious
join.
issue, yeah.
Anybody can come out and do your walk and raise money for you, especially
Correct.
those people that like to walk.
Yeah.
A 3-mile walk I'll do. I'm
Yeah.
good on
Right.
that. So I'll come out for
So
your walk.
people ask their friends and family for a $25 donation, a $100 donation. So it's no longer I'm going to walk 3 miles, give me 10 cents per mile. It's,
Right.
I'm asking you
It's
for a
just a flat
donation.
donation.
Right.
Yes, and asking them to. I might say to you, join my team, and then I'm going to ask you to fundraise for yourself on my team. So we'll
Okay.
have one team goal of $5,000, and I'll have 10 people on my team. The 10 of us are going to get us to that $5,000
I got it.
goal.
Now, we found out how you got involved. How did you get involved with this organization, and why?
So I got involved in nonprofit over 20 years ago because my daughter, my oldest, was diagnosed with a rare neuropathy. And when that happened, I decided I needed to work for a company or an organization and give back to the community. And I didn't want to work just for straight corporate anymore. So I got into the nonprofit field.
Did you say 20 years ago?
Yes, I have a
There's
daughter who's
no-
going to be 22
There's
in a month.
no way.
No way.
Really?
Absolutely.
God bless you.
Thank you. I have
look
good
so
genes.
young. Yeah. Damn. Check this out.
Told you they were nice.
You see that? Look, I'm going to go home and
That's
I'm going to
good.
boost my ego.
Really? No wrinkles, nothing. I'm loving it.
Don't tell anybody. Let's calm down. I don't want anybody to know my age.
But another great thing about working with the corporations and having them get involved, is the fact that if there's so many people diagnosed and there's so many people who don't talk about it because it's the bathroom disease, nobody really mentions it.
We're
Is
trying
that-
to change that fact. We don't want it to be known as it's so much more than a bathroom disease.
Oh, without a doubt. And
Yeah.
I've known people who've had Crohn's and they've had to have parts of their intestines removed
Correct.
and
Right.
things like that. So, it's very important. And there's only 60,000 people that you know about on Long Island that have it. And there's probably a lot more that
Correct.
aren't coming out and saying, yes, I have it. Because,
Because people don't talk about it.
People don't talk about it in that. So we're encouraging everybody, if you're afflicted with this disease, you have support. You have people like Suzanne and Brian who are there to help you and help you get through these troubled times. Because, again, I've known people, and I know, you and I have had conversations where there are days where people with this disease are very functional.
Right.
And then there are days where they're just completely wiped out.
Right.
They're
Can you-
fatigued, they're wiped out, they can't move, and they're just exhausted from the everyday things they have to go through. Sometimes just going to work for the day is too much to get out of bed.
Are there really people that have this disease that don't associate with you?
Absolutely, because they
That's
don't
insane.
even realize that we exist. So that's the goal, is to make sure everybody
Don't
knows.
their doctors even tell them that there are organizations like yours that give support and tend to help out?
So we work very closely with a lot of doctors, and we're trying to get them all to say, here are services that can help you. But some doctor visits go really quickly, and that's not at the top of the mind of the doctor.
Unfortunately, if anybody's been to a doctor, you'll walk into a waiting room and there's 50 people standing there, and it's, they're
Right.
just cranking them out.
And then we have wonderful doctors that it's an immediate thought
Right.
that they give it out. So
But a lot of your doctors are specialists in Crohn's
GIs.
colitis, right?
Correct.
Right.
So, again, I find it ridiculous why a doctor wouldn't just say, by the way, this is what you got to do medically, and this is what you got to do for your psyche, and to get some help and get some, to be more learned
Right,
about
absolutely.
what it is that you're suffering from, so that you know what to do and what not to do.
right.
That's crazy.
Right. Yeah, we wind up sharing a wide variety of ideas. We're not telling anybody what to do, but a wide variety of
Right.
ideas. And the side of it that I like so much is sharing some of the success stories, because there are a number of
let's do-
major
gi-
success.
Give us can you tell us any?
Well, my
Yeah, but not from a
success-
medical standpoint. Well, no, but it's not from a medical standpoint.
Understood.
It's,
Oh,
yeah,
it's from the Brian standpoint.
You don't have to
of-
name names. So.
No, but it's not even medical, and I won't name names. But it's the side of it. It's just like there's a reason why she's sitting here. There's a reason why she's involved with the organization. Same thing with me. There are also other reasons why a lot of business owners, and Darren and I had this discussion. Why business owners are successful is because they're so embedded in what it is that they really care about. So there's one gentleman in my support group that illustrates and writes books. So he's writing books about his experience with the IBD, with the Crohn's issues on his side of things, and that's a great success story. There's another young woman at the time. She spent like 2 or so years in the hospital. So the only thing she was really able to do was like pen and ink, right? It was one of our shining stars. We highlighted her. So the only thing she was really doing in the hospital was drawing. She has then gone on to using colors, then gone on to learning how to use a camera, then gone on to working for a major magazine. So
She
yeah,
would
there's a lot of
sketch celebrities and then auction off and get them to sign it. She would go wherever they are, get them to
Right.
sign their picture, and then she would auction that off to raise funds.
So and that goes a success story of somebody who is turned their situation
Right.
into a very positive thing and became successful at
Right.
it.
Correct.
But then also took that success and is now giving back with it.
Right. So what I
You
define
know?
success is when a patient can turn around and say, Crohn's or colitis is something that I have to deal with. It's not who I am. It does not define me. It's just
Right.
something else that I have to go through each and every day, but that's not who I am.
It's one of the challenges of day-to-day life for them. We
Right.
all have challenges in
and
our
that's
day-to-day
theirs.
life.
Right.
That's
And
it.
that's just one of their challenges.
Yeah, and
Is
that's something great.
IBS?
IBD.
No,
IBS is
IBS.
different. IBS is different.
Is it on it's on a different level.
It's totally a different
Right.
level. IBS is irritable, and IBD is inflammatory. So inflammatory alone tells you that it's much worse than being
Right.
irritable. And there's IBS is completely different. So
I told you this was going to be a short time.
Yes.
And it is, because our next guest has arrived and we need to get him on as well. You have a couple of minutes. Give us some final story. Again, how do people reach you?
So we can be reached at the Garden City office at 516-222-5530. You can follow us on Facebook. You can go to our website at www.crohnscolitisfoundation.org.
Now, on Facebook, is it Crohn's Colitis Foundation on Facebook?
You
or
would search Crohn's Colitis Foundation Long Island chapter.
Long Island chapter. Okay, so anybody who wants to get in touch with you, Long Island, but Crohn's Colitis Foundation is a national foundation,
It's a
correct?
national organization.
So anybody across the country, because we know people from
there are a lot of
across the
people
country
watching all
do
over.
watch this
Right.
show. Anybody inflicted with this disease, please do not hesitate to reach out to your local chapter and get help, because it's there.
And if they don't know where that is, can they call you anyway, no matter where they are in the country?
We'll direct them to the
Exactly.
local chapter, as well as we have support groups online if someone is not near a chapter and can't get to an in-person
Any events
support group.
coming up?
So we have 2 Take Steps walks coming up in the fall, and those can be found at www.cctakesteps.org.
Any of them in October or November?
Both are in October, 1 week apart, October
Cool, because I
14th
got a
and
big show coming
21st.
up in October
Oh,
that your
great.
people would love to come
Okay,
to.
so that website again was, because it's not the same website.
It's not the same website, so
Okay.
it's www.cctakesteps.org.
Okay, so it's www.2Cs
To see
takesteps.org.
Correct.
And the take steps are from Take Steps here, right?
Correct.
Just like this?
That's it.
Correct.
Right? Take steps.
All
Is that a
right.
good shot, Steve?
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
Brian,
much.
as
Thank you for
always,
the
man.
opportunity.
I love
Yes,
you.
thank
It's
you
always
guys.
great.
Thank you for
Thank you,
being
Thank
on.
you so much for the work that you're going to.
Yes, thank you for everything that you do.
It's rewarding on both sides of it.
appreciate
You know,
it.
the giving,
Absolutely.
getting, and the whole
Thank
way
you so
through.
much.
Thanks.
Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to just take a little second. The cameras are going to be on Darren and I as we just change seats and have our next guest come in. I'm not going to tell you anything till this guest gets seated, but we've had some interesting stuff going on this week. I want to throw it out there also. We're doing a free concert. For those of you that live on Long Island, around in Nassau County, we're going to be in Hicksville at the Broadway Mall on August 7th, which is a Tuesday night from 6 to 8 p.m. And we're having the Beach Boys. It's our tribute show to the Beach Boys, and all are welcome. There's going to be free food, there's going to be drinks, and you'll have a chance to watch an absolutely sensational show. Darren, anything you want to say?
Well,
No?
actually,
Okay.
actually, we've had a very busy week together.
We've crazy week.
Crazy week together, which
Yeah.
we'll get into more, because I don't want to waste a lot of time on us, all right? Because the show's always about us, right? We want to today focus on our guests.
We have a guest?
We have another guest, a very fine gentleman that does tremendous work for a lot of people, and we want to talk about his foundation.
Before you mention his name,
Okay.
I want to just put out there how I got to meet this charity. This charity is called Camp Good Mourning, and the morning is MOURNING.
And if in the shot,
Right there.
up there, that's our Camp Good Mourning.
Back when I was 10 years old, I lost my mom. My mom passed away, and I'm 69 years of age, so she's been gone for 59 years, and the world was totally different at that time. When I got this email about 6 months ago, is that about right? It really hit my heart, and I said that I have to be involved with this particular charity, and I got to do some stuff for them. So we'll get on to what we're doing a little bit later on, but I want to introduce Paul Rubin to locally, nationally, and to the world. So Paul, say hello to the world.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you.
Paul's organization is called Camp Good Mourning, and Darren's going to say a few words.
A few words. No. So, Paul, how are you doing this evening?
I'm fantastic.
All right.
It's good to be here.
I'm very interested, and you and I have had conversations about your organization before, and very interested to talk about how you help so many people that to me, and we've had this conversation, it's a much more common thing that people realize. You know, like Norm just mentioned, when he was 10, he lost his mom. But there are a lot of people, it's just not a parent that somebody may lose, but also a sibling.
That's correct.
That somebody may lose that you guys work with. So tell me about how you work with them.
And how you got started.
Yeah, and how you got started.
So I began doing working with kids and grief back in 2002, and then I kind of got involved in specific grief camps in 2004, and it just kind of really shifted my life in a way that really resonated about how I wanted to move forward.
Let me just interrupt you for a second. Why would you do that? What was it in 2002 which led you to that?
Sure. So I was working with kids who were coping, kids who had cancer and their siblings. And then the camp director came to me and said, Paul, you might, I think you'd be a good fit for this other camp that I work with. What do you think about it? And I said, okay, I'll give it a shot, because I've done a lot of work with kids over the years, even as a youngster. And my very first time at this camp, I was paired 1-to-1 with a child. He was about 8 or 9 years old, and his dad had died in the 9/11 attacks. His dad worked at the World Trade Center. He worked at Windows on the World. This small boy did not speak a lot of English. It was his second language.
Okay.
And he came up to camp. I met him, and he really didn't speak too much. He was very, as you can imagine, he's a small boy. He's 9 years old, and he's being dropped off, so to speak, with about 150 strangers. And so you can only imagine the anxiety that he's going through and all the emotions that he's going through. So he was very quiet, he was introverted. And throughout the weekend, he really didn't speak much, but every time we would move to activities, I'd ask him very gently some questions. Can you tell me a little bit about your dad? And he would say, well, one of the things that I really love to do with my dad, or one of the things that my dad really loved to do, was to cook for us. Right. And he really, really bright smile. And then, well, what else did you like to do with your dad? And he said, well, we love to play baseball. I love playing baseball with him. Now, I'm telling this story because it has a really good ending. At the end of the camp, even though he didn't speak much during the support groups, at the end of the camp, he was going home, and what I didn't tell you is that he came up with his mom and his brother in a town car.
Okay.
So mom did not drive.
All right.
So it was a limo type of situation?
Yes. So when he went home, his mom and his brother didn't come to meet him. He was going home in a town car with a stranger, 90 minutes. So my heart sank for him.
Right.
And as he was going to the car, as he was going to open up the door to the car, he turned around and he just came back and gave me a hug. Oh. And my heart broke at that point. And I just remember after we talk about, how the weekend was, not anything specific because of the law. You're not allowed to really talk about anything because everything is confidential. But it really hit me hard. And I just remember that he wound up coming back the next year. And he came back, he saw me, he gave me a big high five, but more importantly, he ran back and went right past me and saw some other kids that he remembered from last year.
That's nice.
And that's what makes it all worthwhile, because he now knows that there are other kids who are just like him.
And he connected, and he created a connection, and that link not only with you but with these other kids, and that's really what the camp does, right?
That's exactly it. You hit it.
Yeah.
You hit the nose. You hit it right on the nose. So it's really important that the kids not just connect with their big buddies because we're paired 1-to-1, but they can connect to other kids because frequently they don't know anybody else who doesn't have a dad or a mom or a sibling or has lost somebody that close to them.
Right.
So for them to realize that and to be in a support group, we don't call them support groups, but to be in a group where there are other kids sharing their story, they're hearing this for the first time. It's like, wow, I'm not the only one.
I'm sorry, Norm. And that's the big thing, right? Our last guest, we said the same thing, is there are so many people out there that are afflicted by this type of situation that pretty much, because we all do it, right? When something bad happens in our lives, and it hurts us tremendously, we all think we're the only ones going through it, and
Right.
nobody
Oh, at that
understands
time,
what
that's
we're
what you
doing.
think about.
Right? And that's what you think about those times. And what you do is you enable to bring all of these people together and say, hey, look, you're not alone. We're here to help you with that. So if there are people out there right now watching, how can they get in touch with your organization? I want you to just look out there and let everybody know how they can do that.
You bet, thank you. So there's a couple of ways that you can get in touch with Camp Good Mourning. One is you can go to our website. It's www.campgoodmourning.org. You can also reach us on Facebook at facebook.com/Camp Good Mourning, again with the U. And there you'll find all the information about what's going on. We're actually having an event coming up on Saturday night. We're having a psychic to come in to provide some healing messages. And this is not necessarily a children's event. This is really for adults. But it's a fundraiser. And it's always an interesting evening, and it's something that we're really excited
And
about.
you're
Where's
based
that
out
gonna
of
be?
Huntington, correct?
Yes, we are based out of Huntington. And I'm sorry, what were you saying?
Where is that event going to occur?
So that's going to be occurring at the Merrick Clubhouse in Merrick.
Okay, Merrick Clubhouse. Is the medium that's coming in, is it somebody that's well
Janet
known?
Russell.
Yeah, she's well known on Long Island. In
Okay.
fact, she had a big, for those of us who remember the Katie Beers case, she was one of the few psychics who I believe could tell people about how she was being held captive.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
so she's the real deal.
I want to go back to something that you had said, actually from my personal life, which a lot of kids and dads or moms, whoever is still remaining, when you go to that funeral and people are hugging you, I'm so sorry, that's over. When that body gets buried, or however it is, cremation or whatever it may be, and everyone goes home, you're there by yourself.
Yes.
And how you handle the days, and particularly the nights. When you go to sleep at night, it's just especially being a young person. I mean, I was 10, and you talk about this young man at 9 and how his dad died, the horrible tragedy that he went through. When that funeral is over, you're by yourself, and you need as much support as you can possibly get. And you know what? The surviving parent can't necessarily give it. They can say, honey, everything's going to be fine, and this, and dad's in heaven, or mom's in heaven, whatever. But you know what? There's another world. When you go to school and people know what happened to you, okay, and they don't even know how to talk to you. It's like, God forbid, you're an alien. They don't know how to come over to you. The teachers take instruction how to handle a child when there's a death in the family. It's just crazy. And for the people out there, for the world, if you ever come across that situation and you're leaving that child at that particular time, call up once in a while. Say hello to the mom. Take the child out for lunch, or especially family members.
Yeah.
Family members can be the worst.
Well, one of the things is, as adults, we're never really taught about how to grieve.
Absolutely.
Right? Nobody ever, there's no course that you can take about grieving. Nobody says, well, this is what you do, this is what you don't do.
There is no do's. There is no don'ts. You just got to feel. To me, I'm sorry, because I get kind of like wrapped up and emotional about this. It's that you have to think for a second. If it was, God forbid, your child, how do you want your child to be taken care of?
Right. So one of the things that we encourage people to do is that it's okay to ask. Mm-hmm. It's okay to say,
I need help.
I need help. It's okay to say, would you like to go to the movies? Mm-hmm. Because it isn't so much that, I hear a lot that we just don't know what to say. One of the worst things that can happen is that we don't say anything.
Oh, yeah.
Because that just isolates the bereaved.
Right. My experience, and I don't have a lot of experience with that particular situation, thank God. But my experience when people have passed, and I come from a very large family. My father had 11 brothers and sisters, and
wow.
So I come from a very, very large family. So I've been involved in a lot of different things. But one of the things I noticed when people die, especially those that really don't deal with it that often, is they go to the they do the funeral and stuff, and then it's almost like just stay away from them. And they got to realize you got to live your life. You got to go on with life. And as you know, what my experience and what has helped me through these times is getting normal again and just living that normal life. Now, I'm not going to forget about the person. I'm not going to forget, they're always dear and near to me. And one of the things that I try to do when I go to wakes and funerals and things like that is think about the happy moments and not be, obviously we're upset that they're gone, but don't take that negative and let it take us down. Let's have a good time with it. Because more times than not, you go to a funeral, right? The person sitting there will go, why is everybody moping around? Why aren't we having a good time?
Because everybody's not Irish.
Right, well, or Italian.
If you're Irish,
right?
you're having a party.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So, that's one of the things that I try to do. But, I have found that when I'm dealing with, younger people and they're dealing with that the faster you can get them into some normalcy, like going to the movies or going and doing stuff, the better off they are.
Well, we have to remember that everyone grieves differently. So grieving is kind of like a fingerprint. Everyone does it their own way. Right. And what might be good for one person might not be great for another person.
Right.
So we have to keep that in mind, is that one child may want to just sit and listen to their music, as some children have done, right? And they don't realize it, but that's their coping skill. And that's okay. Some other kids would like to maybe talk about it. Some kids don't want to talk about it.
More times than none.
And that's okay.
Right.
If we can get them into a circumstance like
camp. They need an outlet.
Yes. They need a coping skill. Right. And sometimes I believe that kids already know what works for them. They just don't realize necessarily what they're doing is helping them, as long as there's nothing like self-harm going on or anything like that.
Right.
I think whatever works for each person is okay.
So again, Paul, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, how can they get in touch with you?
So again, they can get in touch with us either through our website, which is Camp Good Mourning, mourning.org. They can also get us through Facebook at facebook.com/Camp Good Mourning, again with the U. One thing that I did want to explain, if it's okay, is just a little bit about how the camp works.
That was my next question.
That was my next question.
Great, thank you. So what happens is that the surviving parent, if it's a parent loss, will bring their child or children to camp on a Friday afternoon after school. It's an overnight camp, which is critical for kids because that's where kids really tend to bond. We like to call it turbo bonding. And it's different from day camps because they'll come in at 9 and they'll leave at 5 or thereabouts, and then they go back into the car and they go back home. Here, when they come to our camp, Camp Good Mourning, they're enveloped with 24/7 support.
Now, how many days does the camp last?
Yeah, so it lasts from Friday till Sunday afternoon.
Okay.
And and during the weekend, there are things that we call powwows. Powwows is exactly what it sounds like. It's talking, and that is our support groups. So throughout the weekend, there are 4 powwows, and each powwow is led by a clinician. And during those powwows, we talk about 4 specific themes. The first one is allowing children to share their grief story, because a lot of times kids don't have that opportunity to do that.
Right.
The second theme that we usually talk about, and by the way, no child is forced to talk. They can choose to participate, they can choose not to. We know that just by sitting there and them hearing everybody else's story,
They wouldn't want to talk.
they're getting it. They're hearing
Someone's
it.
like me.
That's right. That's exactly. I'm getting chills, talking about that now. The second thing that the second powwow, the general theme is usually about identifying and exploring feelings. Again, it doesn't have to be through talk. A lot of times it's through play, through games, through art, anything.
Are parents there too?
In the second year, parents will be coming, and that's one of the things that makes us different from other camps as well. In the second year, we'll be having simultaneous camp for the parents. So when the child comes to camp, the parents are coming to the camp at the same exact time. They're getting support at the same exact camp, and when they leave together, they're hopefully
Share their experience.
They can share their experiences. They can hopefully feel like they're supported a lot better than they were, or a little bit better than when they first came in.
So it sounds like there's a lot going on at these camps.
Absolutely.
And being that you're a charity and that, I'm assuming you're always looking for volunteers to help with other things other than the clinical stuff.
And money.
Obviously, and money. So if somebody wants to volunteer at a time, and I spoke about this on, with our previous guest, if they don't have a lot of money to give, but they want to give their time, how do they go about doing that? How do they reach out to you?
Yeah, that's the same way. Thanks again for bringing that up, and I'm glad that we're kind of hammering at different ways to get in touch with us. If you want to volunteer, if you don't have to have a lot of money, you just need to have a good heart, because all these kids want are for people to listen. So if you'd like to volunteer, you can again reach us at campgoodmourning.org. You can also reach us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/campgoodmourning. You don't need to, if you don't have money, that's fine. Just imagine that somebody comes to you and says, I'd just like to spend the day with you. I know you've been through a tough time. I just want to be there with you for the next 3 days. And it's just you and I with a whole bunch of other people who've experienced the same sort of thing. I think personally, that's one of the best things that's one of the best gifts any bereaved child can have.
Well, I want to be one of those people.
Well,
and I think
thank you.
we've talked about that.
We have talked
and
about
I would
that.
like to use my experience, if I can help just one child, I would like to do it. And not only that, but we're also, as we talked, we're going to do a bit of a fundraiser.
Absolutely.
For Camp Good Mourning. And just to put aware out there, March 3rd in Port Washington at Landmark in Maine, we're going to be doing our Donna Summer concert, and Camp Good Mourning is going to be involved with that and hopefully be making a bunch of money. And that's on us.
Yeah, and again, we can't thank you enough for your generosity.
No, it's you that will have to be thanked. It's you, and it's Linda, and it's everybody else involved in what you're offering. I know it's you can't buy it, and we know that the camps it's expensive. How much does it cost to send a kid to camp?
So thank you for bringing that up. To send one child to camp, it costs us $850.
For 3 days.
For 3 days.
So if there are 65 people, so we have about 65 children per camp. If 65 people would, if you have it, if 65 people were to donate $850 each, we'd be able to serve 65 children in one camp for 1 weekend. If you can't do $850 and you can do a little bit less, well, let's split that in half. Can you do $425? And then we just need 130 people to maybe donate $425. And again, we'll be sending 65 kids to camp.
But at the same time,
how often do these camps happen? I'm sorry. No.
So these camps happen twice a year in the first year.
Okay.
So, and again, we happen in the spring and fall. We don't happen in the summer. And the reason for that is because we're providing, we want to fill the gaps in services.
Okay.
And so, we'll be having 1-in-1 during the first year, and then we'll be having 2-in-2, meaning the spring and the fall in the second year, and then 3-in-3 in the third year. Well, what were you saying, Norman?
I'm sure you're not adverse to getting $25 or $50 either, correct?
Oh, absolutely not.
All right, so we want everybody to know that
Yes.
you forget the $850. If you can do that, that's wonderful. The $425 is terrific. But if you only had $25 and you'd like to give it to a charity that really needs it, and it's not to help the charity, it's to help the child or to help the parent. That's what it's about.
Can they make the donation on your website?
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so why don't you give your website again, and where on the website would they go to make that donation?
Sure. So you can go to campgoodmourning.org. On every single page, there's 4 donate buttons. We're not shy about that. There are 4 donate buttons, one in each corner of the screen. And so if you just hit that button, you can donate $1, you can donate $5, you can donate, whatever your heart desires. We're grateful for every single penny that comes in, because every single person that comes to camp, every single volunteer, does it for free. So nobody is paid. And I think that's really important for people to know, because sometimes you hear about these nonprofit organizations where all the money is going to administration and all that.
Right.
That's not happening here. So everybody is a volunteer. So that's really important to know.
That's very important to know.
Yeah.
Which is really great. And I want to thank you.
And I'm
You're a
keep cutting
pain
you
in
off.
the ass tonight,
I
you know?
am.
Okay.
But it goes back to thanking you and everybody
Absolutely.
involved in this. and the time and effort. You know, people don't realize how much time and effort has to go into these things. They go, oh, well, it's 3 days every, twice a year. No, it's an all-year process.
But there's
right?
other things. There's insurances and there's all kinds of costs and papers that you need. You're a 5C103, correct?
Yeah, it's pending. So right now everything's been filed, and we're continuing as if. So it's not a matter. It's not a question of if.
It's when.
It's when.
Right.
So we filed. It's all filed with the IRS, and we've been very, very fortunate. The New York Mets have come on board.
Why don't you say that before we finish? That's
sure.
great.
Yeah.
So the New York Mets have come on board, and they're donating four tickets, field-level tickets, that will be raffling off very, very shortly. They're also giving us 150 tickets for campers, volunteers, and parents during next spring. And they're also going to be providing Mr. Met for several events that we do with kids. But here's the great thing, is that there have been a lot of people that have stepped up, and I certainly don't want to, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Lords of 52nd Street.
Yeah, they've been really good with you.
They've been awesome. So
Yeah,
for those of you who
they're a
don't
great
know,
group.
yeah, they're the original Billy Joel band. They are the ones who started with Billy early on. They are Long Island Music Hall of Famers. And they have taken us literally under their wing and invited us, excuse me, and they've invited us to, so far, all of their Long Island concerts so that we can table at their concerts, and they make announcements to say, listen, this is an organization that's near and dear to our heart. Hear what they have to say before you leave.
That's fantastic.
And I was out there to one of the shows.
Absolutely.
Right, out in Riverhead, and they're just wonderful, and what they do for you is really great. But you're not too shabby either. That's really great.
It takes a village,
But it takes the person to get it going. So you and I have to just give you kudos. And on that, I'm going to shake your hand.
Thank you.
And we're going to be speaking and seeing each other again soon.
bet. Thank you so
And we thank
much.
you so much for being here. You will be back.
Thank you.
You
Thank
will
you.
be
Thank
back.
you, Paul.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank
we want
you.
to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. I hope this is a different side. You get to see a different side of Darren and myself and what we're really all about. It's not all just business. It's giving back to the world and giving back to the community. So on that note, anything else you want to say?
No, not at this time. I mean, this was a great show. I love doing this stuff. As you know, I'm a volunteer too for the Air Force Auxiliary.
Absolutely.
I like giving my time because, as you mentioned, Paul, and we work with kids 12 to 18. It's when that kid comes over and says, thank you for doing this for me, thank you for doing that. That's the reward in and of itself. And it doesn't matter, and with the Civil Air Patrol, we volunteer to help a lot of organizations like yours when you have events going on.
Yeah.
And our kids come down, and it really teaches them some great things about
And on that
so.
note, we need to say goodbye
Yep.
because the broadcast person back there is yelling and screaming at me and waving his hand. Tune in next week, next Wednesday. We're working on this, have a very, very, very special entertainment guest. So hopefully you'll tune in. We'll see you all next week and have a great week.
All right,
Thanks,
guys.
everybody.
Have a great week. Take care.
Today's show is brought to you by Friend Entertainment USA, producing the best concerts for charities and corporations for over 30 years. And CBMS Consulting Services. Control your business before it controls you. In association with Area 22 Productions, your multimedia streaming network. If you're interested in being a guest on our show, visit our website at www.bphdmm.com for more information.